Hello, and welcome to another mysterious video by No Sleep History. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the Egyptian desert. The sand stretches endlessly, golden under the burning sun, and on the horizon, three colossal shapes rise into the sky. The pyramids of Giza. Their presence is overwhelming, even today. Immovable, eternal. Structures so precise, so immense, that they seem to defy both time and reason. For more than 4,000 years, they have stood silently, watching civilizations rise and fall. And yet, their origins remain cloaked in mystery. How were they built? Who carried these stones, some weighing more than 50 or even 70 tons, across the desert? What knowledge guided their construction with such astronomical accuracy, aligning them almost perfectly to the stars? Scholars, archaeologists, dreamers, and skeptics have debated these questions for centuries. Some point to ingenious human engineering, while others whisper of lost civilizations, forgotten technologies, or even visitors from beyond our world. The truth, as always, lies somewhere in the shadows between fact and imagination. What we do know is this: the pyramids were not simply monuments. They were designed as something greater, something eternal. Tombs, perhaps, but also cosmic machines, stairways to the heavens, bridges between the realm of man and the domain of the gods. And whoever built them, whether ordinary workers, skilled artisans, or beings whose knowledge has long since been lost, understood the laws of stone and symmetry in ways that still astonish modern science. The enigma begins not in the age of Khufu and Giza, but long before, in the deserts of early Egypt. Thousands of years before the Great Pyramid was raised, smaller tombs called mastabas were already being constructed, flat-topped structures of mud brick and stone. These were the humble beginnings. But then, almost suddenly, came a leap forward, a leap so vast it has baffled generations. The step pyramid of Djoser, rising like a staircase into the sky, designed by the enigmatic figure of Imhotep. Who was Imhotep? To later Egyptians, he was remembered not just as an architect, but as a sage, a healer, a magician. He was elevated to the status of a god of wisdom and medicine. Was he merely a man of genius, or was his knowledge drawn from sources now forgotten? His creation, the step pyramid at Saqqara, marked a turning point in human history. For the first time, stone was used on a monumental scale. For the first time, Egypt declared its kings to be eternal. And from there, the pyramids grew, each new structure larger, more precise, more impossible than the last. Until, at last, Khufu ordered the building of the Great Pyramid, a mountain of stone so immense that it remained the tallest human-made structure on Earth for over 3,800 years. Even today, with all our cranes and machines, we would struggle to replicate it with the same precision. Pause for a moment. Let your mind rest on that image. Imagine standing at the foot of the Great Pyramid, the limestone casing gleaming white in the sun as it once did, reflecting the light so strongly it could blind the eye. Imagine the desert air vibrating with the sound of chisels, ropes, and thousands of voices as stone blocks were set in place. Could this have been achieved by mere human labor? Or was there another force at work, something we no longer understand? The pyramids are not simply piles of stone. They are riddles. They are statements written in geometry, in alignment, in proportions that mirror the very heavens. They were built with intention, but the deeper one looks, the harder it becomes to separate myth from truth. And so, we begin our journey, not with answers, but with questions. Questions that have haunted humanity for thousands of years. Who actually built the pyramids? Why were they raised with such effort, such perfection, such mystery? And what do they still have to teach us today? When we speak of the pyramids, we inevitably speak of their masters, the pharaohs of Egypt, kings who were not merely rulers, but gods on earth. To the people of the Nile, the pharaoh was more than human. He was the living embodiment of Horus, destined to ascend to the sky after death, to join the eternal cycle of the sun god Ra. The pyramids, then, were not built as mere tombs. They were vessels of transformation, bridges of stone meant to carry the pharaoh from the dust of mortality to the radiance of eternity. But pause for a moment and consider the audacity of such vision. Imagine Khufu, around the year 2600 BCE, gazing across the desert sands and ordering a pyramid larger than anything ever attempted. Over 2 million limestone blocks, some weighing as much as 70 tons, laid so precisely that even today, 4,500 years later, a razor blade cannot slip between some of the stones. This was not just a monument. This was a statement, a declaration that Egypt's kings commanded not only the land, but the very cosmos. The Great Pyramid of Giza was aligned with true north with astonishing accuracy, more precise than many modern structures. Its proportions echo mathematical constants, its dimensions encoded with mysteries that scholars are still unraveling. To some, this precision suggests a level of knowledge that feels far ahead of its time. And yet, behind this grand vision lies an even greater enigma. How was it possible? How could an ancient civilization, without steel tools, without the wheel as we know it, without modern cranes or engines, marshal such resources, such knowledge, and such labor? The traditional explanation is one of sheer human willpower. Tens of thousands of workers, perhaps not slaves, but skilled laborers, living in carefully organized villages near the pyramid site. Fed, housed, and trained, they labored season after season, year after year, under the watchful eye of architects and overseers. Evidence from excavations at Giza reveals bakeries producing bread in staggering quantities, breweries fermenting beer to sustain the workforce, and vast cemeteries for those who gave their lives to the pharaoh's vision. But even this explanation raises as many questions as it answers. Could human hands alone move blocks of such size across the desert? Could ropes, sleds, and ramps truly account for the scale and speed of construction? Some argue yes, pointing to experiments where teams of modern workers successfully dragged multi-ton stones with water-slicked sand. Others remain unconvinced, suggesting that even if possible, the logistics strain credibility. And so, the mystery persists. Were these monuments purely the result of human determination, or is there a missing chapter in human history? A forgotten technology, a lost science, now buried in the sands? The pyramids are not isolated marvels. Each one was part of a grand vision, a sacred landscape. Temples, causeways, sphinx, and smaller pyramids for queens and nobles were carefully arranged. Together, they mirrored constellations in the night sky, as if the builders were inscribing the heavens onto the earth. To stand before them in ancient times would have been to stand in awe of a divine order. The pharaoh's pyramid was not merely a resting place for his body. It was the axis of a cosmic order, a stone mountain rising between earth and the stars. When you picture it, imagine the Great Pyramid not as it appears today, weathered, jagged, stripped of its casing stones. Instead, see it as it once was, gleaming white, polished limestone reflecting the desert sun so brightly it could be seen for miles across the sands. By moonlight, it would have glowed faintly under the stars, a beacon guiding the spirit of the king toward the eternal heavens. And here lies the heart of the mystery. Whether built by human hands or by knowledge long forgotten, the pyramids were never just monuments of stone. They were monuments of belief. They were declarations of faith, ambition, and cosmic order. They were, above all, eternal. But even eternity has cracks. And as time passed, as dynasties rose and fell, so too did the age of the pyramids fade into silence. Yet the questions remained. How exactly were these colossal structures built? What secrets do they still hold? And why, after millennia, do they continue to command both reverence and doubt? We must look closer, deeper, into the stones themselves, and into the mysteries they conceal. The pyramids have stood for more than 4,000 years, yet in all that time, no single explanation has silenced the doubts. Archaeologists point to ramps, sleds, and ropes. Engineers model the process with computer simulations. Experiments show what small groups of determined workers can achieve. And yet, when one stands before the Great Pyramid, towering over 140 meters into the desert sky, the heart wonders if there is more than meets the eye. Legends, after all, have always swirled around these monuments. To the ancient Greeks, the pyramids were a puzzle from a vanished age, too great to be explained by ordinary means. Later travelers spoke of them as granaries built by Joseph of the Hebrew Bible, or as secret treasuries holding unimaginable wealth. In medieval times, some even imagined they were protective talismans, built to preserve Egypt's wisdom against a coming flood. In more recent centuries, new theories have emerged, some grounded in science, others wandering into the realms of speculation. One of the most persistent is the idea of a lost civilization, a culture older than pharaonic Egypt, one that possessed advanced knowledge that has since disappeared. Some point to erosion patterns on the Sphinx or astronomical alignments that seem to date back far earlier than conventional history suggests. Could the pyramids be echoes of a forgotten chapter in human history, built not in isolation, but as part of a far older continuum of knowledge? Then there is the theory of hidden technology. Not machines of iron and gears, but clever innovations lost to time. Some suggest that ancient builders may have used counterweights, levers, or even simple but effective chemical processes to cut and shape stone. Others imagine a mastery of sound and vibration, a way to harness resonance, to move massive blocks not by force alone, but by harmonizing with nature's unseen rhythms. And of course, there is the most controversial idea of all, that the pyramids bear the fingerprints of extraterrestrial influence. Popularized in the 20th century, this theory suggests that the precision of the Great Pyramid, its alignment with celestial bodies, and the sheer magnitude of its construction point to guidance from beyond this world. While mainstream historians dismiss such claims as fantasy, the idea endures. After all, when the mind gazes at monuments of such scale, the imagination naturally wanders to the stars. But perhaps the truth lies somewhere quieter, somewhere in between. Not in alien intervention, nor in impossible feats, but in the genius of human organization, of patience stretched across decades, of entire generations working toward a singular vision. What to us feels inconceivable may have been, to them, a sacred duty, a rhythm of labor and devotion, so ingrained that it produced results we still struggle to fathom. And yet, even if human hands built every block, the mystery does not vanish. For the pyramids are not only about how they were made, but why. Why did a people devote such enormous resources, such unyielding effort, to monuments of stone? Why shape their world around eternal tombs for kings, while their own lives were fleeting? Perhaps because, in their worldview, life and death were not opposites, but a continuous cycle. The Nile rose and fell, seasons turned, stars traced their paths across the heavens. And so too the pharaoh rise again, reborn through stone and ritual, carried upward by the pyramid that anchored his soul. Theories come and go, some with evidence, others with imagination. But the pyramids remain, unmoved, silent, vast. They hold their secrets in stone, revealing only fragments to those who search. And it is this silence, more than anything, that keeps the mystery alive. In the present day, the pyramids stand not only as relics of the ancient world, but as living puzzles, continuing to reveal small fragments of their secrets. Archaeologists, engineers, and explorers return year after year, armed with new tools, ground-penetrating radar, thermal imaging, drones, and even cosmic ray scanners. Each discovery opens another door, yet behind it, new questions emerge. In recent years, researchers have identified hidden cavities within the Great Pyramid of Giza. These are not small gaps, but vast, unexplored chambers, sealed for thousands of years. Are they structural anomalies, accidental spaces left by builders? Or do they serve a deeper purpose, perhaps containing objects, inscriptions, or architectural functions that remain unknown? For now, they remain inaccessible, untouched, silent, waiting. And then there is the alignment of the pyramids themselves. Standing in their shadow, one notices how precisely they are oriented to the cardinal points: north, south, east, and west. So precise, in fact, that modern surveyors are struck by the accuracy, achieved without satellites, compasses, or modern instruments. Some suggest the builders used the stars, perhaps the circumpolar constellations, to guide their work. Others wonder whether such precision hints at knowledge of the earth and sky more advanced than we credit to ancient people. Tourists walk the stone causeways, their voices echoing in the desert air. But when the crowds fade and the sands grow still, the pyramids return to their silence. Their scale humbles even the most modern mind. Skyscrapers rise and fall within a century. Cities shift and vanish, yet these ancient monuments endure, steady, unyielding, witnesses to the passage of countless generations. For the Egyptian people, they remain more than monuments. They are symbols of continuity, reminders of an ancient civilization that shaped human history. For scholars, they are an open archive, each block a page in a book not yet fully read. For dreamers, they are a canvas of mystery, drawing the imagination back to timeless questions: who, how, and why. Perhaps this is their true power. The pyramids were not only tombs, not only structures, but instruments of wonder. They inspire humility, they spark curiosity, they remind us of the limits of our knowledge and the vastness of time. And in that way, they continue to fulfill their ancient role, not simply to honor the dead, but to bridge the mortal with the eternal. Imagine yourself now, standing beneath the Great Pyramid as twilight falls. The desert cools, the stars begin to pierce the horizon, and the massive silhouette rises into the night. The same stars that guided the ancient builders now shine above you. The same winds brush across the stones. Time collapses, and you feel, just for a moment, the presence of an ancient world. A world that dreamed in stone and left behind a riddle without end. The pyramids ask no questions, yet they invite all answers. They are, and perhaps always will be, the greatest mystery carved into the face of the earth.